Hey, welcome to the next video. We are doing the next episode in the Get to Know the Track series, and this time we are on the Nürburgring GP track in the Porsche 911 GT3, the newest, so the 992 version. As before, the intro will be quite short, so we will jump into a replay of a hot lap that I did around the track. We will pause, stop and talk around each corner, where to brake, where to turn in, what to look for, what to look out for, where to accelerate, and so on and so on. Yeah, that's it. So hold on just a moment and I'll join you inside the replay. And here we are inside the replay on the start-finish straight of the Nürburgring track. We are going to play through the rather long home straight, so this straight does offer opportunities to exploit some draft and maybe attack the car in front into turn 1. And here we are going to stop the replay. Actually, let me also enable the HUD so that you can see my inputs. The turn 1 approach is a little bit unseen. As you see, you cannot see the apex of turn 1 as the track drops down, and there's also a slight kink in the approach of turn 1, but regularly you want to aim for that 100 meters board, which is also your braking point marker. And if I just run up to it a little bit closer, there we go. Yeah, as you can see, the track is turning to the right all the time. And yeah, this braking point marker is destroyable, so it can be taken out and probably will be taken out, but it sits right at the end of this patch of tarmac here. So even if this goes away, you still have a visual braking point reference that is quite visible. As for braking, where you want to start braking is 110. Again, as always, the exact braking point might differ slightly for your setup and car, but with the Porsche I usually brake at around 100-110. Yeah, as you can see, this where this tarmac here kind of begins, this is where I go onto the brakes. For the approach into turn 1, the apex is still not visible, but the right hand side or the left hand side curbing here is, and that's where you want to go. You want to brake in a straight line as much as possible and also open up T1 as much as possible. Now is slowly the time when you start seeing T1. First thing you will see is probably this bollard here, although it is destroyable and usually it does go away, so do not rely on it. And this is kind of where you want to start turning in. There isn't really any direct reference where to turn in, but towards the end of this darker green, you want to start turning in. As you can see, the tire marks here are also turning into the corner here. But yeah, do not rely on tire marks, because in different lighting they might not be visible, or if a car is in front of you, it will be even harder to see. And as I said, down the rather long home straight, you do have a chance to sneak up the draft of the car in front, so it is a good attacking point. If you're defending, you'll probably also want to position your car more to the right. But yeah, this is kind of, now we're not defending, so we are all the way to the left and already in the process of turning in. Trail braking, quite important into here. You want to keep the nose tucked down. The geometry of the corner is the track drops down quite a lot, so it is quite easy here to understeer. So you will want to trail brake into this corner, although the camber is also quite, it changes as the turn goes around. Here you're maybe a little bit on the positive side of the camber of the track, where the track leans a little bit towards the outside, so you do tend to run out wide here, but later the camber changes and the track starts to lean to the inside of the corner, which is beneficial, so you can carry a little bit more speed. I miss the apex here. I usually want to be a little bit closer, although it is quite bumpy here, so I tend to stay a little bit off the curb here, but again, this is depending on the car. I personally prefer to keep a tiny bit more to the left than the curb, but definitely a bit more to the right, like I am now, maybe half a car's width more to the right. As in terms of acceleration, because you are slowing down quite a lot, basically when you kind of, if you want a visual reference, is kind of maybe this add bollard here, or however you call that. Yeah, it's a lot easier in VR because you can look into the corner, so it's a bit easier to spot when you want to go on the throttle, but particularly for the corner you want to go on the throttle a bit before you are on the apex, and I'm taking a wide entry into the corner because I don't want to exit too wide, because the next corner is coming up very quickly. You can, so if you do run out wide, you still can, but I like to kind of exit where I am right now, so a little bit more towards the center of the track. And yeah, that's pretty much turn one. So once you exit turn one, you already want to set yourself up for turn two, which we will get to right now. Okay, turn two. Let's speed it up a little bit. You want to go a little bit to the right, maybe not so much as I've done here, maybe a little bit more to the left as you're entering the corner, and depending on the setup, you can get away with just a tap of the brakes, or maybe even not that, depending on the car and setup, but a lift is definitely needed. You cannot go full throttle, and then it's just balancing the car on the throttle for a very long left-hander. Difficult to spot exit or acceleration point, very difficult to spot. If you go on the acceleration too quickly, you will run out wide. As for entry, let's speed it up a little bit. Yeah, here I turn in okay-ish, but I get a little bit of an oversteer, and it pulls me a little bit too quickly towards the inside curb. I want to kind of go here where those skid marks are here, so a little bit more to the right, and have like a late turn in. As you see, I had to correct the car here because I did lose the rear a little bit as I entered, but here I do want to run over the inside curb, although not too much. I don't want to dip the wheels into the grass because this upsets the car way too much and messes up with the exit. In terms of power application, yeah, it's somewhere around here when the yellow crane is starting to coming outside of the A pillar. Again, this is a lot easier if you're in VR or triples, because you can look into the corner a little bit more. Again, a little bit of oversteer on the exit. And as for exit, yeah, you can exit quite wide here if you need to, although there is very little time to be gained here if you are if you're exiting that wide, but generally the white line, or in this case a very gray line from all the tires, is the limit of the track, and you must not go over with your left-hand tires over this line. And that was turn 2, and now we are going to go into turns 3 and 4. Right, we are approaching turn 3, and we need to set up the entry for turn 3 very well, because we need a very tight exit out of turn 3 so that we can have a good entry into turn 4. So this is a combination of these two corners. But first, entry into turn 4, turn 3, you want to stay to the right as much as possible, like I am here. And visual braking point reference is the end of this gray-green piece of concrete. You want to go on the brakes sooner, a little bit before it runs out, like something like that. It's a rather good visual reference if you don't have anyone in front of you. If there's a car in front of you, do be careful not to run into the back of them. And as for entry, you want basically a very late entry into this corner here. You don't want to already turn into here, but you, as you can see also the skid marks, you want to run out wide and then turn into the corner. A very slow corner, so you will have to slow down quite a bit, and it's important to trail brake into the corner. It is very slippery, but at the same time do take care to carry the speed through it. I was maybe a tiny bit slow here for my liking. I maybe like to be a little bit quicker. And then is no acceleration. This is, yeah, like I said, you have to exit very tight, so you are going on the throttle on and off to balance the car and to keep the speed, to not scrub off too much, but you don't want to exit wide here, because turn 4 is coming up very quickly. So you ride this curb all the way until the end, and then stay to the left, or kind of the first third of the track if you're looking at it from the left to right. Kind of where I exit here. Why is that? Is because turn 4 is a sort of a 90-degree turn, and you have a relatively long straight afterwards, so you want to maximize the exit as much as possible. So as the track straightens out here between the two corners, you don't want to go fully on the throttle, and for turn 4 you just want to lift, or if your setup and car can handle it, maybe not even that. As for the turn in, you want to aim for the apex. Now, depending on the car here, I like to run over this curve because it kind of drags and turns the car around, which I like. Some cars don't react to in this way, so do give it a try how it works with your car. As for exit, you want to aim for this bright green patch of concrete. It's relatively shimmeringly visible as you're driving, but that's kind of where you want to exit. Again, if you're off the throttle, generally after you leave the curb, that's where you want to already be fully on the throttle, and then just let the car slide out. You can run out wide here quite a lot. There's no grass here, as the regular Castrol S corner is coming through here, so you do have you can run quite wide here. Again, this white line is the limit, and as long as your right-hand tires stay on this white line, you are still in the legal limits. And that is the exit of turn 4. Now this tiny kink is turn 5, which is kind of the connection of the turn 4. But so we are going to now run up to turn 6. And let's pause it here. Yeah, as you can see, we are now approaching turn 6, which is again another downhill corner. It's slightly not visible where the track exactly goes, but the camber is quite nice into the corner, so you do have a lot of grip. For entry, you want to move to the right here as much as possible. You will knock down these cones. They are still here in the replay because the objects kind of become ghosts in the replays, but yeah, you will knock these out and you will use the end or this edge of this corner here as your braking point. It's a rather short braking zone, and you usually want to take this corner in the 3rd gear or 2nd gear, depending, maybe even 4th in some cars, but yeah, it totally depends on your car. And you want to have a kind of a late entry into the corner, so keep going straight, and then as you approach the end of this rumble strip, you turn into turn 6, and here you can see kind of like how the track is leaning towards the inside, so it does offer you quite a lot of grip. Nothing much to say here except be patient, use the throttle to settle down the car, do not run out too wide, there is grass on the outside. You kind of want to aim to exit out of the corner here, and go on the throttle after apex, but don't go out too far to the right. You kind of want to exit here. Maybe half a car's width to the right is still okay-ish, not more though, but that's kind of where you want to end up. And then for of course the next combination, or the next corner in this combination, turn 7, you want to open it up again and move to the left, and that's why I don't want to run out too wide on the exit here. Alright, and now we are approaching turn 7. As you see, I already go to the left and I am already starting to brake for it. So it's a very short distance between 6 and 7. And your braking marker is end of this left curb or beginning of this right one. You want to brake before that, of course, like 20-30 meters before it, something like I am braking here. And you want to open up the right-hander maybe a little bit too much, or even not, but just be careful not to miss the exit. I do find this corner is a little bit misleading. It is quite a tight corner, although it doesn't seem like it, and it's quite slippery, so you do run out wide here on entry quite easily. Yeah, you want to aim for a late entry and late apex. Still not apex on the apex, and the apex is kind of around here, quite late into the corner, and at this point you want to start accelerating or going on the throttle, and just aim for this middle of this bright green piece of concrete here. As your exit, let the car slide out. It's quite okay. There is sand on the outside, so if you will go too wide, you will dip into the sand, and you basically don't want that. Exit curb is quite flat, so you should be safe running over it with pretty much every car. And as yeah, you exit, this is pretty much on the limit. The white line is the limit. You cannot go a lot more over. The front tire is still okay. As you can see, the right one is pretty much on the limit already here, and as you can see, the left does still have some room, so you can invalidate before going into the sand, but this is pretty much it. You won't want to go over any further. Otherwise, you are going to invalidate. And yeah, like I said, curb, safe to run over. Don't worry, it should be fine. And that was a combination of 6 and 7. Now we are going to run down to turn 8, or the Dunlop hairpin. And we are going to pause it here. It's quite an open hairpin. It's not very tight. It feels like it goes on forever, and is rather tricky to spot the braking point here. Depending on your setup. So in my case, I am braking somewhere around here, like the middle of this smaller rumble strip. That's kind of my braking point here. It's rather hard to spot, but yeah, it's round about here, like I said, somewhere in the middle. That's where you want to start, or where I go on the brakes. For your car or your setup, it might differ a little bit. Now for turn in, or general line into the corner, there are multiple approaches. There is no one perfect way or one best way. So let me go into this view here. Maybe a little bit more up. Yeah, this should be okay. So as you see, here is the entry, here will be the exit, and the skid marks do show you stay close to the inside curb, and accelerate out. Now there are other lines that are just as fine. They are a little bit slower toward in the middle of the corner, which are like a double apex approach basically to this corner. You take a little bit more speed into here, apex here, run out wide, turn back in, and apex again here. You are slower at this part of the corner in that approach, but you go on the throttle, and you can potentially have more exit on the exit, potentially. I'll leave it to your decision how you want to take this corner. I decide for this corner on every lap of the race, and do it differently. Basically, if I brake a little bit early, I will take the tight line approach around it. If I brake a little bit later, I will do the double apex. But for double apex, you want to turn in a little bit sooner, as the skid marks here suggest, because you want to kind of aim for the curb round about here, as I do here, as you see, yeah, right when this gray area begins, and still fully on the brakes, then start releasing. As you see now, I wash out and go back on throttle, full on throttle. I missed the second apex here a little bit. I was a tiny bit too soon on the throttle, and it washed me out, so I had to also release the throttle a little bit in the middle of the corner, but it's still fine. It's still fine. In terms of exit, this orange is a good visual reference, a little bit to the right of it here. This is kind of where you want to end up when you exit the corner. And you can exit all the way on this green curbing here, and you want to be full on throttle here. Exit of this is just as exit from the 7 or any other corner on this track, really. The white line here is the limit. That's as wide as you can go. Although the curb is safe to run over, sometimes the car can behave a little bit weird when you hit it, but you want to get off the curb before it ends here. There is quite a bump here, and you will be losing time, and maybe even end up in one of these walls if you hit it wrong. And yeah, that was the Dunlop hairpin, or turn 8 of the Nürburgring. And now for the very quick turns 9 and 10, or Michael Schumacher S. Let's speed it up a little bit. And slow it down again. For entry, you want to mount this curb on the right, although it is bumpy a little bit, so be wary. If your car is not really built for riding curbs, then you might want to stay off it. And with the Porsche, I kind of find it okay if I go like this. If I hit the red and white with the tires here, it upsets the car a little bit too much. So I either go very far to the right or stay off the curb in the Porsche. And yeah, as you can see, the car does jump quite a lot. Now for entry, you're still full throttle. There's no braking on this corner, but you kind of follow the skid marks. Although, like I said in the beginning, it's a bit finicky to rely on those. But there is really no good visual reference that I found so far that I could use. But it's kind of by feel and by those skid marks. And as I start turning in, I start releasing the throttle, although not fully, and go with like 50 to 60% throttle, because yeah, otherwise the car just doesn't turn, or at least with the setup that I'm using, it doesn't turn. And you want to get close and or hit this curb or run it over. If your car is very good on curbs, you can safely run it over. And just as you approach it or get near it, you want to go again full on the throttle. In this case, maybe a tiny bit too soon, because as you will see as I come around here, yeah, the exit is a little bit invisible. Let's go a little bit back. Yeah, as you can see here, you don't see the exit, you don't see the exit, you don't see the exit, still don't see the exit, now you see the exit. Your exit is basically this, the apex of turn 10. It's basically your exit of turn 9. You want to exit into it directly. And as I said, I've gone on the throttle a little bit too quick, so I wash out a little bit too much to the right. I've been here very much on the limit. This is as far as you can go. Yeah, you can see here. Oopsie, that was quick. I am close to gravel anymore, and I'm in the gravel. It slows me down, but it also invalidates. So this is still legal. I promise you this was a legal lap. But this is very much on the limit, and because I went on the throttle a little bit too soon, I exited the corner a little bit too far to the right. I didn't lose much time here, maybe half a tenth, if that. But basically, you want to end up here when you're exiting. You want to get this line through here, not this line as I'm taking here, because now what happens is if you exit here, you have a flat right-hander here, but I have to turn a lot more here. As yeah, look, just look where I am. It's just not good. So turn 10, exit again, not so visible, but yeah, you just go full throttle. Full throttle from here. There's just no chance that you're going to go too far to the left, unless you do a me and you exit turn 9 too far to the right. Then it's a chance you will exit turn 10 too far to the left. But if you get a good line through 9 into 10, there's almost no way you can invalidate. On the exit here, the exit curve is a little bit bumpy. Don't go too far, and if you go on it, be sure to get off it before it ends. Otherwise you are again going to be jumping around like crazy, and yep, not good. So yeah, that was the Michael Schumacher S, and we are now going to run up to turn 11. Alright, and we run up to turn 11. and pause it here. The 100 meters board is your braking point marker. That's where you, or actually you want to go on the brakes a bit sooner, like here 120 meters-ish. But again, depending on the car setup, same old, you might want to go on the brakes sooner or later. But for this particular case, or for my case, I go on the brakes here. Like I said, 120, 130. You can stay right on the right hand side here. This is not grass, this is the green colored concrete. Words are hard today. Unless if it's wet. If it's wet, you don't want to be here, you want to be here to the left. But since we are in dry, we can go fully on the brakes, and towards the end of this screen you want to start turning into the corner and you want to aim for the inside apex. This is again a very much cambered corner, so you can take more speed through this corner than you anticipate. It is a 90 degree, but the camber allows you to just pull the car around nicely. Use the inside curb here. Some cars can take it even a lot more. You can go fully over this green here and you are still safe. Second gear, third gear is okay. I like to take this corner with the approach of a later brake and trail brake through the corner and go accelerate after the apex. As you see, I am well past the apex when I go on the throttle, because the exit, the straight afterwards is very short, so the exit is not that important to me. As exit, again, you can go over this green stuff here, but be careful. If you go too wide, you will invalidate, and at the same time you want to go quickly over to the left side, so don't linger out here for long. If you do exit any more to the right, get your car to the left here as quickly as possible for turn 12. I personally like to exit somewhere where I am now. Jumping over the curb here is it's not that bumpy, but it still upsets the car a little bit, so I prefer not to upset it too much. Alright, then turn 12. Like I said, move to the left, all the way to the left, all the way to the left, and when you're kind of at the beginning of the end of this patch of tarmac here, you want to go on the brakes. Not too much. This is like 70-80% brakes, just to get the nose tucked in, and then use the throttle to balance the car. A late entry into the corner, as you have seen here, a rather late entry into the corner. Don't just dart for the inside, but hang around the outside here a little bit, still hang around, and now get to the curb. As for acceleration, kind of before you hit the curb, you want to go on the throttle, like I did here. And as for exit, you want to aim here, although in this case I was a tiny bit too soon on the throttle, a tiny bit too far away from the inside curb, but the inside curb is a little bit high, so it can upset the car. But if you hit it correctly, it will pull the car a little bit around. But be prepared, as you come off the curb, you will have to counter steer, otherwise you will lose too much time. You do need to correct that slide quickly, because there is quite a long straight afterward. So yeah, be careful around this curb. And like I said, don't go on throttle too quickly, otherwise you will run too wide. But if you hit it perfectly, I was a tiny bit too soon on the throttle. As you see, I had to lift because of it. Look, here I am already going on throttle. This is wrong. This is somewhere where I would want to go first on throttle, or maybe even here. When I release the throttle, that's where I want it to be full on throttle instead of having to release. If I do this correctly, the progression, the path of the car will take me to the outside here. Don't run out too wide. If you dip the wheels into the gravel, it will stop I mean, it won't stop, but it will slow you down. Otherwise, the curb is safe to use. And except the ending here, you want to get off it before it ends. Okay, now we are going to fast forward to turn 14 and 15 up here, because 13 is this kink, and it's just a kink, full throttle, nothing special to add there. So. And here we are, turns 14 and 15. There's quite a theme with the invisible corners on this track. Again, you don't see the chicane here, you only see these couple of cones here. The rest you don't see. Braking points are only the boards here. Unfortunately, not much else exists, and those get taken out, unfortunately, in races because they are destroyable objects. And as for brakes, 60, 70 meters, that's where you want to go on the brakes. Yeah, I don't know what could be a braking reference. Maybe this orange part here, but you have to go on the brakes quite a lot because this is quite late into the corner. And yeah, you still don't see the entry, it's just not there. And yeah, brake heavily and don't turn in here. That's not our corner. We turn into the second one, which, as you can see, the track kind of dips down, so that's why I don't see it. But basically you can use this as a turn-in reference. Maybe that's where you want to go through. You can use a lot of the curb here. Do take care of this island here because it does upset the car. I barely missed it here, I think. I barely missed it. Or maybe even hit it a little bit, right? Yep. But a tiny bit hit it. But that's still okay. But anymore, if you attack it head on, you're just going to jump all around. Unless your car can handle high curbs, then you should be safe. Yeah, too far back, sorry. Again, 60, 70, full brakes, turn in. And you want to go on the throttle, or at least I do in the Porsche, because I need to settle down the rear a little bit. And when I get off that curb, slam it full throttle. I slid a little bit too far to the left, to the right here. As you see, yeah, as I'm coming off this curb, I would still want to travel in this direction, although the car is kind of traveling in this direction. Yeah, so I hit this curb or this island here a little bit too much, and it does unsettle the car. But this is still within the limits, and because I slid a little bit too far to the right, I will also slide a little bit too far on the left. But basically you want kind of full throttle through here. Because of this bump over that island, I had to slightly lift. Otherwise I wouldn't have made it. And I also run out a little bit too wide to the left, although I am still in bounds, but the curb on the left is a little bit bumpy, so do take care of that to not upset the car too much. And do not run out too wide. If you do, this piece of grass here just pulls you off the track, and you're going to end up somewhere here spinning, or somewhere here crashing, depending on what you do when you hit the grass. Yeah, that was the chicane. And now for the final corner, or turn 16. Alright, here we are approaching turn 16. Yeah, as you see, my exit from turn 15 is a little bit too wide. It was still in legal limits. I was quite lucky here not to lose it. So in the race especially, I like to keep a little bit more to the right on the exit of turn 15. And then for turn 15, I like to get off this curb, at least off this rumble strip here, and brakes are kind of, yeah, this is again a corner where you don't have good visual reference where you want to brake, but it's around about here where I go on the brakes. Unfortunately, there's absolutely no way, except for the skid marks where you see they get a little bit darker. That's your kind of your braking point. Not the most perfect one, but what are you going to do? There's literally nothing else to use. And as for entry, it's a very slow corner, so second gear, maybe even first gear. Late entry, still go wide, and as you approach this divider between pits and track, that's where you kind of want to apex and go on power. Yeah, as you see here, I am starting to go on power, and right after that divider, I want to apex and be fully on power already. The inside curb is a little bit high, so I tend to try not to touch it because it bumps you off to the left, and you don't want that. The track roundabout here, as you see, I had to slightly lift. The track is also a little bit bumpy here, so the back end does tend to jump around a little bit, and it can unsettle the car, and it can throw you off. But yeah, exit again. You have this green concrete on the exit, not this wide this time, and you really don't want to go too wide, because if you dip your tires again into the gravel here, you are going to lose a bunch of time, and yeah, you just don't want that. And the exit curb is a little bit bumpy, so do take care. If you hit it wrong, you can lose control of the car, but definitely get off it before it ends here, because there's just gravel afterwards. And that was turn 16, and with it the lap of Nürburgring. And there we go. Yeah, hope that it was enjoyable, and that you did learn a thing or two about the Nürburgring track. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you liked it, leave a like. If you really liked it, subscribe for more in the future. And I will now shut up and play the full speed replay of the lap that we just dissected in this walkthrough. Alright, thanks for watching. See you next time, and enjoy your day, your night, morning, wherever you are. Just enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.